While I was doing some research for this, I stumbled onto this picture. And this picture really spoke to me. It kind of felt like Tommy to me. It kind of felt like this play encapsulated in the picture. So I'm going to talk a second about this picture. It's from a magazine called Jet Magazine. Who's familiar with Jet Magazine? Yeah. Okay, then I don't have to explain Jet Magazine. But for those who didn't raise their hands, Jet Magazine was from 1951 to 2016. One of the staples in an African American home. It came every week. I grew up with Jet Magazine. I think my mom grew up with Jet Magazine. It came every week, and it was a cross between really important things that you needed to know, things that were going on in the country, the lives of Black people, celebrity gossip, and then the beauty of the week. Right. Beauty of the week changed to the beauty of the week. It had measurements. Oh my God. But anyway, Jet Magazine. So it was that thing we lived with. And this particular Jet Magazine, which I'm just going to keep pointing at, because it came out in 1964 in August in the same edition that covered the 1964 riots in Harlem, which is when this play is set, during the 64 riots in Harlem. And there was a whole bunch of coverage, like 4 pages of coverage with photos and da-da-da. This picture is not in that. Though it says Harlem Exposed, and you can get why it says Harlem Exposed. It makes it really cute. This is happening during the riot. It's happening during the riot. But they decided, some editor has decided, that she's not going to be in context. Right? She's not in context of the riot. Instead of someone who had a Molotov cocktail thrown into their apartment and had to run off and put herself out on fire, she's presented as someone oblivious to cops about her, an unidentified woman with dress half burned off, takes to the streets of Harlem after a Molotov cocktail was tossed through her apartment window from where she viewed street fighting. And set afire her drapes and dress, as if it's kind of her fault that she's half naked in the street, right? So, and this is Jet Magazine, which is, again, our civil rights magazine, and I think that it's really important because it looks at something that I think Wyoming Wilderness is really examining, which is our responsibility to each other. African Americans, responsibility to each other, how we hold each other accountable, and how we sometimes fail for various reasons. Reasons of respectability politics, reasons of class, and your garden variety misogyny. So this is so that's my setup for this, because this really just screamed. This is, I don't know if she saw this picture, but I feel like she understood this picture when she was writing this piece. So Wyoming Wilderness was written and produced in 1969 by Boston Public Television Station, WGBH-TV, which was pre-PBS, but basically PBS. And it was the first installment of a 15-hour series called On Being Black. It was a series that was written and produced and acted by African Americans. So J.E. Franklin's first play was produced here. Black Girl, the first production of Black Girl, was included in this series, and Elder had a piece, and then Alvin Ailey was featured, and Alvin Ailey's dance group was featured, and Mums Mabley and Dick Gregory, and it was specifically supposed to be by Black writers for a Black audience. Now, it was a very specific thing that I think gave Alice Childress the freedom to write this in a different way. Because before this, her plays had handled all of the stuff. Everything that's in here is in her other plays, but not necessarily the foreground, because there's a lot of discussion about interracial relations. Integration is a big topic in Trouble in Mind. There's an interracial company trying to put on a play about, and how are liberal whites and African Americans managing to do this, whether they're doing it well, how it falls apart, and what does it mean to be a liberal white person in a context close up with Black people telling you what they really think, all of that. But for this, she gets to lay that to the wayside. It's just like, we're not talking to you guys at all right now. This is just about what we're doing and how we work. And so that, I think, is really important. And 69, this is also coming out of what we think about when we think about the 60s, or what I think about when I think about the 60s, which is kind of this time when things have fallen apart. Everybody's been assassinated. There's a riot every 5 minutes. There's, it's just turbulent and just trying, and everybody shuts it off. But she said it in 1964. And she said it at this place where there's a riot, but it's the first riot that's been in Harlem in 20 years. And it's the first riot in an inner city. There was a riot in Birmingham the year before, but that was because there were white people bombing Birmingham. And so it was in response to a very specific thing. This was in response to a very specific thing too. It was in response to a possibly unarmed Black child, youth, boy, being killed by the police and nothing being done. That sounds so familiar, right? So anyway, more things change, etc., etc. But it's the beginning of something. It's the beginning of the realization that what seems to have worked in the South is not going to work in the inner cities, that nonviolence may not work as well, that the entanglements are going to be knottier and harder to fix, that the move to the suburbs that have, has taken a lot of money out of the city and left unemployment, as, there's so many factors that are happening, that are coming to light in 64. And so she's here at the beginning, but there's also the sense of maybe something is about to happen, right? We don't know that we don't know yet that, that everybody's going to be dead, and that, the cities are going to burn every summer, and we're going to have what she calls hot summers and warm winters, is what she calls it in one of her essays. She doesn't know that yet. So what she's dealing with is this time where people are trying to figure out what it means. What does it mean that what we're rioting? And what are the splinters that are happening in the community, within the African American community, or communities, but right now in Harlem, which is where we're set, what's happening here. And we're not going to give away the play, but there are, say, 3 things that I want to lob onto. And one is the question of it's class, right? It's kind of the intellectuals and the grassroots. That's what he'll refer to. Bill will refer to Tommy as he's denigrating. He says a grassroots woman, which is, I think, the first time I've ever heard grassroots used in a denigrating way, right? Because grassroots is Malcolm X giving a message to the grassroots. Grassroots is SNCC organizing, and Fannie Lou Hamer is grassroots. But when he says a grassroots woman, there's something, and then he rests himself and says under the grassroots. But what he really means is she's bringing out this tension between those who think and theorize and those who are in the trenches, those who are having their lives actually affected, and then can be taken out of context, right? So that is one thing that she's really honing in on, and she'll come back to it. The other is the place of women in the community and the place of women in the movement. Because 64 is the year of Stokely Carmichael with SNCC, which was founded by a woman, said that the position of women, the proper position of women in SNCC is crone, which he said was a joke, but it's not a very funny joke. And it's also, and the year after, the Moynihan report comes out talking about the tangle of pathology in the Negro family, and that the big tangle of pathology is the matriarchy, the matriarchal system. And he says that it's been forced, that it's been forced, and there are historical factors and all of that, and racism and segregation. But they also hint, and it says that women keep it that way. That there's a place where they say that women are in charge, and women choose to educate their daughters instead of their sons, and therefore they transmit the culture, and therefore women are part of what's keeping the black men down. That is the argument that will go forward in the community. What does it mean? Why is your position prone? Because you're keeping, because the matriarchy has to go. Because you are keeping us down, and so you have to get into a place. And so what is the place? What is the proper place of black women in the movement, in the family, in the home, in the community? It's a really large question. And she has this quote that I really kind of like. Well, the first one that I forgot to use that I'm going to do, because this is the reason I read this, and she says in an essay called The Candling the Old Men from 1984, I concentrate on portraying have-nots in a have society, those seldom singled out by mass media, except to source material for derogatory humor and or condescending clinical social analysis. That's basically stuff, right? And then she talks about, we frequently hear that strength has taken femininity away from her, that would be the black woman, but the end result is that she is the main culprit in any lack of expressed black manhood, and she has been masculinized in the process. Certainly this is too easy and too misleading a conclusion. And Alice Childress is, I think, one of the reasons she did not get as much play as she should have, because she's brilliant. She's brilliant. She's beautiful playwright. From the first play to everything ever, she's brilliant. She makes me go, right? But her subject is pretty much always black women, and not ingenues, not pretty, not damsels, not in distress, but women trying to live their lives who have real concerns, who have real flaws, who have real, stuff that they're going through, and trying to really, and producers have not generally been interested in that as Broadway material, and still are not particularly interested in that as Broadway material. Fortunately, the off-Broadway movement has made it okay that those stories don't make it to Broadway, but they don't. And they didn't, and she came up in an age where it was harder to have a sustained, she had a career, but she moved to fiction in part because it was harder to have a sustained career as a playwright, making, to support that, and write about the things that she really wanted to write about, the people that she really wanted to write about. And so, and One in the Wilderness actually, works out. It gets produced on television. It didn't get a lot of play there, but then it moves to the New Heritage Theater Company and New Heritage Repertory Theater. It's changed its name a couple of times now. But, and they got lots of productions after that because there was a rise in African American theater in the 60s and the 70s. So things could move out, but always one acts, smaller productions, things that make it hard to just make a big push out. Okay, that was it. Part 3. That's where I was. Sorry. Part 3. The other thing I think she focuses on, because I think that was a rabbit hole, but I think it was an important rabbit hole. I felt strongly about it. Her commitment, the commitment to community in this play, and actually in every play, even in the plays that seem to be about other things, there's always the question of what do we owe each other, and how do we come together, and how do we hold each other accountable. So, for instance, in Wedding Band, which is a play about an interracial relationship, a large subplot in that is how the community does or does not accept this woman and how they come to some understanding. So the end of that becomes about her becoming integrated to that community again, no matter what's happening in this relationship. And Trouble in Mind, that cast, we have these companies, some of them are educated, theater educated, and so they look down on the young, on the older, kind of more stereotypical people who've been playing these stereotypical parts forever, but they come together to understand that they are part of a community. And I think, and this is just a more pointed, direct way of doing this, and it will continue on in her later plays, that it's really about getting these people, the middle class people, the intellectuals, the artists who are sitting, tuning out a riot, casting aspersions on those who are stuck in the middle of the riot. But at the end, even these people who may be antagonists in another play, maybe people that you discard, they can't be discarded because they are part of the community. And at the end of the day, the community has to come together. The community has to stand. And that, I think, is one of the strongest things. Well, that's the thing that I take. And now you get to see what you're going to take from it, because here's more than this.